This conference will
Histamines.
now be recorded.
We talked about the histamines, its chemistry, right? Then we discussed about the receptors to which histamine molecule binds. We also discussed about the different conformational isomers of histamines, and then we also talked about its physiological role. So what is the significance of histamines? Now, one thing before going to antihistamines, I would like to tell that histamine as such is not used clinically as a therapeutic agent. But since histamine mediates so many important biological functions, so many like it is involved in so many types of functions, so there is a need to synthesize antihistamine drugs. So now the antihistamine drugs available here are basically they bind with histamine receptors, they inhibit the binding of histamines, and once they occupy the histamine receptors, they block the effect of histamines indirectly. So in previous class, we have also talked that how to abolish the function of histamine. So different approaches we discussed, that by decreasing the cellular uptake, or by blocking or by promoting the metabolism of histamines, or by synthesizing the antihistamine drugs. So antihistamine drugs usually nullify or cancels the effect of released histamines, while the other drugs, they do not block the effect of histamines once got released, but they may prevent the release of histamines, like mast cell stabilizers. If you are using cromolyn, so mast cell stabilizers, they just prevent, they do not block the effect of histamine. So once histamine will get released from the mast cell after the stimulation, the histamine will produce the effect. So to block that effect, we need antihistamine drugs, right? So today we'll talk about the antihistamine agents, its classification and properties. And as usual, after the class, I'll give you some assignments, so which you have to prepare and send to me through mail ID. Now, coming to the next slide, just refresh it. Histamine exerts its physiological function, its role through different histamine receptors, H1, H2, H3, H4, widely distributed molecule, and mediating a wide range of biological function. But for clinical point of view, the three functions which as we have discussed important are hypersensitivity and allergic inflammatory reactions, regulation of gastric acid secretions, and neurotransmitters function in the CNS. So whatever histamine designed, remember, whatever histamine designed, basically they target these three functions. So those histamines, they uh, block the effect of histamines, and they bring down these functions to the normal level. For example, the regulation of gastric acid secretion, you can see here. So histamines for H2 receptors, they block the binding of histamine to H2 receptors, and the secretion of hydrochloric acids come down. The very famous brand in India, you must have come across it, is ranitidine, and like the molecule is ranitidine, brands like Rantac, Jantac, so many are there. So like that, whichever receptor you are planning to target, based on that the histamine molecules are designed depending on the requirement. So coming to the classification, what is antihistamine? If somebody asks you what is antihistamine, is it the mast cell stabilizer is an antihistamine? Is the drug which is promoting the metabolism of histamine will be considered as an antihistamine, or the drug which is blocking the effect of histamine or binding of histamine to particular receptor is antihistamines? So the actual definition of antihistamine is the any agent, any drug molecule which inhibits the function of release histamine. So how they will inhibit? By binding to the receptor for which histamine binds. So the coming to the history, piperoxan was the first antihistamine discovered by Fournier and Bouvet. These are the two scientists. They find out piperoxan as a first histamine, and they observed that this molecule is inhibiting histamine induced bronchospasm in guinea pig. So from here, the synthesis of histamine, antihistamine initiated or started. Then we come to the classification of antihistamine drugs. Based on the receptors, as I said, they are classified into different categories. For example, if it is blocking H1 antihistamine, it will be H1 antihistamine, or if it is blocking H2 receptor, it will be called as H2 antihistamines. If H3, H4, similarly, it will be named. So today in today's class, we are talking about the H1 antihistamine. This class of compound, this group of compounds, they bind specifically to H1 receptors. Now, one more thing I would like to clear here, that the histamines designed for a particular receptor will not have the affinity for the another receptors. So if you are taking H1 antihistamine, it most of the cases, 99.9% chances, it will not bind to H2 receptors. So your medications, for example, you are taking any antihistamine for cough as a cough remedy, as expectorant, then it will not have the effect on hydrochloric acid secretions, means it will not show any effect on H2 receptors. So they are very specific, receptor specific, and they exert their effect by binding to a particular receptors. So coming to the H1 antihistamines, the molecule which bind to H1 receptors are H1 antihistamines. They are classified on two categories, first generation and second generation. So today we will discuss about the first generation antihistamines. So before going in detail, what we should have some idea about what is the difference between first generation and second generation. See, the first generation antihistamines, they have antihistaminic property, and along with that they have very strong CNS depressant action, or they have very strong sedation action, sedative property. While when we go for the second generation antihistamines, the sedative property is less compared to the first generation, or some of the second generation antihistamines are not having that sedative property. This is the main difference or main reason behind the development of second generation antihistamines. Now you can see here the first line written in purple color, first generation antihistamines. Below that, it causes CNS depression. See, there are so many side effects, so many adverse effects associated with antihistamines, but the CNS depression is major side effects or major adverse effect with this class of drug. So if you must have seen on the bottle of a cough syrup containing antihistamine first generation H1 blocker, they write do not do any physical or a mechanical work after taking this medicine. It means what? After taking that first generation H1 antihistamine, there will be chances of sedation, and if not taken the proper dose, then what happens? People may feel lethargic, laziness, drowsiness, all those type of symptoms, blurred visions, it will start appearing. So along with the another anticholinergic side effects. So because of that, what will happen? If anyone is doing mechanical work, the chances of accidents will be more. Suppose someone is driving, drink and drive, not allowed. Similarly, if you are taking any medications for the cough remedy, or for your medication contains H1 antihistamine, we'll come to know about the example in later slide. If you're taking any medications having the H1 antihistamine in that particular medications, then avoid riding, driving, and all those, or any kind of mechanical works. So all these first generation H1 antihistamine, coming to the slide now, they binds with cholinergic and adrenergic receptors. They bind with dopaminergic and serotonergic receptors. Means they will bind with these receptors and they will mediate the biological response, and that is, you can say, their role for their role in those adverse effects. So how the first generation antihistamines design, how the structure looks like. So you can see the structure too. The first generation H1 antihistamines have 4 characteristic features. Remember, this is the very important line you must know. One is, the first important part is 2 aromatic rings. Now you know aromatic means what? See, generally when we say aromatics, people say benzene ring, correct? The common concept. But aromatic doesn't mean benzene only. So your antihistamine, first generation antihistamine, may contain other aromatic system also. So don't think that always the first generation will have benzene. Most of the drugs has the benzene ring, that aryl ring, substituted or unsubstituted, but it may have heterocyclic aromatic ring also. So what is the first requirement in the structure of first generation H1 antihistamine? Is presence of 2 aromatic groups. Okay, then those 2 aromatic groups bind to a linker. The linker can be CH, the linker can be CHO, the linker can be a heteroatom nitrogen. So generally in general structure it is represented as X. Okay, and then the third requirement in the structure is one spacer and then tertiary aliphatic amine. This is the fourth requirement you can see here. So you can see I have written in order the 2 aromatic groups attached through a linker to the spacer, and that spacer is attached to the tertiary aliphatic amines. So these are the 4 requirements. Now you can see here on the right hand side of the slide, that figure 2 you can find in the structure. We have one spacer here. Okay, then there are 2 aromatic ring, AR1, AR2, X is your linker which will bind with that spacer, and it will also bind to those aromatic group, and then a spacer attached with that aliphatic amine R1, R2. You can say tertiary amine group is here. So these are the characteristic features of first generation antihistamine, H1 antihistamine, or you can say first generation H1 blocker. So what can be AR1 or AR2? It can be a normal phenyl, it can be a heterocyclic moiety. As you can see, I said aromatic means it can be anything which is fulfilling the criteria for aromaticity. It will be aromatic, right? So can anyone tell me what is the meaning of aromaticity from the group? Yes.
It should follow Huckel's rule, sir. Huh?
Yeah, this is one criteria, like it should follow Huckel's rule, that is 4n plus 2 pi electron rule. Fine. Apart from that, there are some other parameters such as the cyclic structure, presence of a conjugated double bond, and if the double bond is there, it should undergo delocalization, then it should undergo resonance, and if it is fulfilling all these criteria, it must fulfill the Huckel's rule, and then the molecule will be called as aromatic. So it can be benzene, a normal carbocyclic molecule. It can be a heterocyclic, for example pyridine, thiophene, or it can be a substituted aromatic ring also. So AR1, AR2 can be similar, can be different depending on type of compound, what type of antihistamine you are designing, what you are looking for, which activity you are targeting, whether you are targeting the sedation property more, whether you are targeting the allergic reactions, to suppress the allergic reactions. Depending on your need, you design the molecule. Similarly, you can go for X here, that linker. You can see the aryl group attached to the linker. This whole system is attached to a spacer, and the spacer is attached to tertiary aliphatic amine. So the 4 component here, 1, 2, 3, and 4th one is linker. Your X can be nitrogen, or it can be any heteroatom. It can be CHO, it can be normal carbon also. While R1 and R2 can be alkyl, can be benzyl group, can be like normal methyl, depending on the need. It can be a 1 carbon, R1, R2 both dimethylamine. It can be diethylamine. It can be different amines also. And a spacer usually 2 to 3 carbon length. So you are not supposed, if you are increasing the carbon length of a spacer, then the activity will diminish. You may lose the antihistaminic properties. So always remember, the spacer will have 2 to 3 carbon, not more than that. Usually most of the antihistamine drugs have 2 only. You will find ethylene diamine group. When we'll come to the category wise classification, the picture will be more clear. So what we discussed in this slide till now is the antihistamines, they block the effect of release histamines. How they block? By binding to the receptors, the design receptors available for the histamines. Those antihistamines, they occupy the receptors and they nullify or they cancel the effects of histamine. Apart from that, antihistamines, they bind some other receptors, they have affinity for other receptors also, so they may produce some side effects or unwanted effects. Among several side effects, the major or the very prominent side effects or the side effect which is a matter of concern for the patient or as well as for the physician is the CNS depression. So it is recommended not to do any mechanical work if you are taking any formulation, any medication containing H1 first generation H1 antihistamine. So now I discuss with you that what is the difference between first generation and second generation. First generation is usually having more sedative property, while the second generation is free from this sedative property, or if it is very minimal. Correct. So now coming to the we discussed about the structure, general structure requirement for a first generation H1 antihistamine, and that structure requirement says it must have two aromatic groups. That two aromatic groups may be normal benzene ring, it may be heterocyclic pyridine, thiophene, depending on what type of molecule it is. The aromatic group may be substituted mono or di, or maybe unsubstituted. Then those two aromatic groups attached with linker. You can see in the structure here linker, which is represented as X. So X can be nitrogen heteroatom, X can be carbon nitrogen, X can be CHO, depending on the structure. And then whole assembly aromatic system with linker is attached with a spacer, usually 2 to 3 carbon moiety. And then this spacer is attached finally with the amine, terminal amine group. That terminal amine group will be tertiary aliphatic amine. However, in drug design, there is one term called as isosteric replacement, where this terminal aliphatic amine group can be replaced by a heterocyclic moiety, which is containing nitrogen. So any queries from any dots from this slide, please clarify, ask to me, I will clarify you, and otherwise we will move to the next slide. Yes, any question? Yes, anyone from group?
No, sir, no doubt, sir.
Okay, fine. So we'll move to the next slide. So the next slide of antihistamine is, one second. So coming to the classification, the first classification is ethylene diamine derivatives. Now you can see top I had written the general structure, AR1, AR2, spacer, the terminal nitrogen amine moiety, NR1, NR2, tertiary aliphatic amine. So coming to the ethylene diamine antihistamine. Now let us focus on the why this name ethylene diamine came in the classification and what does it mean. Now if you see this structure carefully, we can find two amine group here. One is this tertiary amine NCH3, correct, N dimethyl here, and another one is this nitrogen containing one aromatic ring and here one benzyl ring or another aromatic attached to CH2, and in this between two we have this ethylene moiety CH2. Is it clear? No, you can see this CH2. This is ethylene. CH2 ethylene. If it is CH2 only, CH2Cl2 methylene chloride, correct. So if it is containing two carbon, correct, C2H4 C2H4 here. So it is ethylene with two amine group. That's why it is ethylene diamine. So all of the molecule from this class, they will have this same basic skeleton, only they will differ in the nature of X. If this is normal benzene ring, usually X and Y will be H or CH. Here you can see, for example, phenbenzyamine. In phenbenzyamine, you can see this is the benzene only, here benzene and here benzene, and remaining thing is same. So if it is like heterocyclic moiety pyridine, it is triphenamine. So depending on which type of drug it is, the nature of this ring or the nature of the atom in the ring will differ. So now only thing we should be clear here that why the name ethylene diamine antihistamine came. So these two classification or most of the even classification of this group are based on the nature of the spacer attached. What is the basic name of the spacer? Based on that, the group has been classified. Correct. So among ethylene diamine antihistamines, phenbenzamine, triphenamine, methapryline, and thongylamine are the few important class of drugs. Out of that, phenbenzamine and triphenamine are important and clinically used. There are another one class which I will discuss after this slide, which is the heterocyclic analogs. It doesn't look like exactly how the general structure has been mentioned in this table, but it belongs to ethylene diamine antihistamine. How? We'll see in the next slide. Another class of ethanolamine derivative is another class of ethanolamine. Another class of antihistamine, H1 antihistamine, is ethanolamine ether. Now you see what is that ethanolamine. Okay, what the ethanolamine? What is the difference between ethylene diamine and ethanolamine? Ethanol amine, correct? Two part. If you break it, it is ethanol amine, means that the spacer is containing one amine group attached with ethanol. Now ethanol, what is ethanol? C2H5OH, right? Is it okay? Ethanol is C2H5OH. Now if you see this structure, the H has been replaced and this H, in place of H, this group has been come in that structure. So the whole skeleton is here, ethanolamine, ethyl, OH, and this tertiary amine. So another class of H1 antihistamine is your ethanolamine derivative, and very popular brand. Most of us know that name is Benadryl cough syrup. Correct? It contains diphenhydramine or dimenhydrinate. The another brand name is Dramamine. But in India, very popular. No, everybody. I think even people have not studied pharmacy, they know what is Benadryl. Benadryl, like even in advertisement also you have seen most of the time. Correct? So that Benadryl, that Park Davis company has launched this Benadryl, and this is a ethanolamine antihistamine. Now remember, it is H1 antihistamine, first generation, having highly sedative properties. So if you are taking Benadryl cough syrup, please do not drive, do not do any mechanical work. Correct? This is very important precaution. Another one important molecule from this series is chlordiphenhydramine and doxylamine. So the brand names are written here. Now you can see R1, R2X. They will differ depending on what type of molecule is. But you must remember the diphenhydramine, Benadryl, belonging to ethanolamine moiety. Sometime in MCQ also they ask which of the following is an ethanolamine derivative. Diphenhydramine, or brand name is Benadryl. Okay, any doubt from this slide related to the structure, how the name ethanolamine came or how the name ethylene diamine came? Is it clear? Yep, please reply.
Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
No doubts.
If any, no doubt. Okay, shall I move to the next slide?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine, thank you. So after this, coming to the another two examples, right, which I said that it does not contain the conventional structure of H1 antihistamine, the general structure. So where it differs. Now see, here we have three structures, 1, 2, 3. Now you see these three structure. What is the difference here? This is ethanolamine derivative. You can see here 2 carbon, 1 O, correct? Like your ethanolamine other examples. Here also this is ethanolamine derivative. Now what is the difference in this structure and the structure we discussed previous? Now the difference here is this presence of heterocyclic amine or heterocyclic moiety in both cases. In previous case, we were having aliphatic, tertiary aliphatic amines, right? Here, but here we are having heterocyclic. The nitrogen is tertiary in nature, no doubt. Nitrogen, one carbon here, one carbon here, here in both cases. So this is containing pyrrole N-methyl pyrrolidine ring, heterocyclic, no? 5-membered with nitrogen unsaturated, both carbon is pyrrole. 5-membered saturated with nitrogen is saturated nitrogen is pyrrolidine. Now this pyrrolidine has been the pyrrolidine electron hydrogen has been removed, replaced by methyl, so it is N-methyl pyrrolidine. Now this N-methyl pyrrolidine is a substitute of aliphatic tertiary amine which is present in most of the H1 first generation H1 antihistamine. Now this is called as something in medicinal chemistry we replace this it is called as bioisosterism. So you can replace the molecule and you will get the desired biological property. Whatever you expect from the molecule, it can be achieved by changing that particular group with a suitable substituent. So this is the N-methyl pyrrolidine is substituent of tertiary aliphatic amine for this molecule, while here in clemastine the azepine ring has been replaced. Azepine means 7-membered saturated 7-membered ring with 1 nitrogen. So you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Correct? So this is the difference. Remaining thing you can find same CH2, CH2O, ethanolamine analogs only. Other things we are not bothered. This is okay. It will change. But I wanted to explain you this difference. In place of aliphatic tertiary amine, here heterocyclic amine is there, which is nitrogen is also tertiary, and here pyrrolidine is there. So it means that it is not necessary when you are designing an first generation antihistamine, always you will have the aliphatic tertiary amine. We want tertiary nitrogen. If you are getting aliphatic activity with aliphatic nitrogen, it is fine. Tertiary aliphatic amine, it is good. Or else we can go for heterocyclic moiety also. Similarly, similar to that tertiary aliphatic amine here is antazoline. You see this antazoline, the spacer is methylene, here 1 carbon less, and this nitrogen linker NCH2 is same, this phenyl ring, here also 1 phenyl ring. Now this aliphatic nitrogen, tertiary nitrogen has been replaced by imidazole ring. Now this imidazole ring is a substitute for the aliphatic tertiary amine group which was present in ethylene diamine class of H1 antihistamine. Okay, so these are the 3 examples containing heterocyclic amine, heterocyclic moiety, or heterocyclic amine also you can say, heterocyclic moiety in place of aliphatic tertiary amine. Remember, these 3 are very important example from the class. Antazoline belongs to that, it is containing methylene spacer, while clemastine and cytostine contains ethanolamine spacer. Okay, so what we came to know from this discussion is that sedation is a major side effects of all ethylene diamine antihistamines. Okay, and apart from that, if we are going for ethanolamine, we find that apart from sedation, the ethanolamine derivatives have also cholinergic responses like dry mouth, blurred vision, tachycardia, urinary retention, and constipation as the severe side effects. So if anyone is taking this medicine, avoid the mechanical work, avoid any work which need extra alertness, extra care, especially working in lab or driving or journey or any other thing. Correct? So any doubt from this slide, or else we'll move to the next slide, please. Any question?
No, sir.
Okay, shall I move to the next slide?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine, thank you. So coming to the next slide of today's class is third category of first generation H1 antihistamine, and that is called as alkyl amines. Now from beginning I am saying, when I started this class, that this classification, chemical classification, is based on the nature of spacer. Spacer means that carbon which is connecting linker and tertiary nitrogen. So in this category we have here X. This X is replaced by carbon. So all these molecules, you can see the structures here, whether it is a phenyramine, sorry, whether it is a phenyramine or pyrobutamine or chlorphenyramine, bromophenyramine, all are containing this spacer in which the linker is not heteroatom but the linker is carbon. Now this class of antihistamines are most widely used, and they are used for, even sometimes they are preferred as OTC drugs. You can get it from the medicinal chemistry. However, it is not recommended to take any medications without the prescriptions from a registered medical practitioner. So please don't try. Correct. Now what is the characteristic feature of this class of drug is that they are widely used, and the heteroatoms of the linker is not here heteroatom as it was in case of carbon. And these antihistamines are optically active antihistamines. So remember this line. Correct. You can see that. You know what is the meaning of optically active carbon compounds? Can anybody tell what type of compounds are optically active? What is the criteria for a compound to be optically active? Yes. Anyone from the group?
Sir, it is the property of rotating the plane polarized light.
Correct. That is right. If it rotates clockwise or whether it is rotating anti-clockwise, based on that it will be classified as like dextrolivo and all those. Correct. No. But what is the requirement in structure? What type of molecule? Molecule containing chiral carbon, right? Having chiral carbon, it will be optically active, and chiral carbon means asymmetric carbon with 4 different groups, A, B, C, D, like, okay. So this alkylamine class of antihistamines, they are optically active, and the carbon present here, you can see the structure of phenyramine. Correct. The carbon present here is asymmetric chiral. So because of that, it has 2 isomeric form, and the class of compound, if it is double bonded, it is existing in 2 geometrical isomeric form, E and Z, and the and the alkylamine derivatives which is saturated, it is existing in R and S enantiomeric form. So this, we know the importance of stereochemistry in drug discovery. There are so many drugs. If it's one optical form is active, the another optical form is pharmacologically inactive. Even the one form is having different pharmacological property, while the another form is having different pharmacological property. For example, cetirizine, levocetirizine. You can come across, if you are seeing any like medicines, any bottle, any wrapper, just try to see what is the active constituent. Sometimes you will find cetirizine only written on bottle. Sometimes you will find on the tablet strip levocetirizine. Correct. So sometimes like quinine, quinidine, they are the another example of the isomerism, the isomeric form. Correct. So based on that, the pharmacological property also changes, the potency also changes. One form may be more potent, another form may not be more potent here. For example, we can see here that the E-tripolidine is 1000 times more potent than its Z isomer, and the S, in general, the S enantiomeric form of H1 class of first generation antihistamine having greater affinity for that receptor compared to their R form. So I mean to say that the stereochemistry, whether it is it plays very important role. The isomerism and the pharmacological actions, they are related, especially when we are talking about the binding of drug binding of drug to a particular receptor. The conformation, the orientation of that particular drug will define or will determine whether that drug will bind to the receptor or not. Same thing happens here in case of R and S or E and Z isomer. So all these alkylamine class of antihistamines, they have decreased CNS sedative side effects compared to the ethylene diamine and ethanolamine derivatives. They are having less anticholinergic side effects, and they have less antiemetic property than the ethanolamines. In general, the halogenated derivatives, the aromatic halogenated derivatives are used as antihistamine for mild seasonal allergies, like running nose, sneezing, and all those. So how the molecule gets metabolized? By the major pathway is N-dealkylation. So very simple class of molecule. The structure is almost similar. Only difference is the spacer is attached with another one carbon. There is no heteroatom in place of X. X will be hetero in previous class. Now I had said in beginning only, then X can be nitrogen, X can be any other atom, X can be CH, X can be CHO. Okay, so in this case X is CH. This is the one difference. Then remaining AR1, AR2, R1, R2, it depends again what type of drug you are going to design. You can see here the examples: phenyramine, chlorphenyramine, bromophenyramine. Now you see in this structure, the one ring is benzene, while the another aromatic ring is pyridine, while nitrogen part, amine part is tertiary amine containing 2 methyl group. But when you move from phenyramine to tripolidine, the thing is changing. You are having pyridine and you are having methyl benzene, methyl with benzene, which is called as toluene, and there is one double bond between these two carbons, so it is existing in two geometrical isomeric forms. So depending on the requirement, depending on what type of property we are looking for, we design the molecule, any molecule, not only antihistamine. Okay, any question from this class, from this slide? Sorry, shall I move to the next?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine, thank you. So coming to the next slide, the fourth category under the first generation H1 antihistamine is piperazene's derivative. Now we'll have some discussion about heterocyclic molecule here. Okay, so pyridine with benzene with one nitrogen is pyridine, completely unsaturated. You can see this slide, right hand side. Piperidine is the pyridine which, if it becomes saturated, it becomes piperidine. Now this pyridine, if it contains one more nitrogen at fourth position, it is pyrazine, and when you are saturating the both nitrogen, it becomes piperazine. Piperazine is very simple structure but very important molecule. Earlier it was used as anthelmintic piperazine citrate. Now it is not in use because so many safer anthelmintic agents are available. Here the piperazine moiety is used for the development of H1 antihistamine, first generation H1 antihistamine. So you can see in this structure I have written substituted piperazine. So both of the nitrogen of piperazine has been replaced by other groups other than hydrogen. So all these agents have significant anticholinergic and antihistaminic property. Okay, the anticholinergic side effects and drowsiness are very common. So if you are taking the molecule like cetirizine or hydroxyzine, cetirizine is very famous molecule, correct? Very common. You can find out from medical shop, very cheap also. But if you are taking cetirizine tablet, better don't do any work, or if you are taking better to take in the night before going to sleep. So if you have allergic problems, if cetirizine prescribed, take in night and have a nice sleep. Don't take it while you are on work. So all these molecule derivatives, they are used especially to treat motion sickness, vertigo, suppression of nausea and vomiting. Some people have the problem with traveling, like they go by bus or train, they start vomiting. That to treat those type of problems, the piperazine derivatives are given. Hydroxyzine is the molecule which belongs to this class, and it is nothing but, you can say, hydroxygen. When it undergoes metabolism to acidic form, it becomes cetirizine. So if you see the structure here, the structure of hydroxygen and cetirizine, the difference is the terminal group in hydroxygen is hydroxyl group OH, while in cetirizine the terminal group is carboxyl group. So this is the only difference between hydroxygen and cetirizine, and very important molecule from this class, and most of the time used to suppress the allergic reactions, the like skin rashes and other sneezing, running nose, and other allergic problems. So very simple molecule, very simple structure. Piperazine. Piperazine has other pharmacological roles also. So coming to the next slide, the last category of this class of drug is, we have another 15 minutes. The last category of this class is tricyclic antihistamines. Now here we find a totally different. Why totally different structure is because after spacer we have a very bulky group. The linker which we are showing here as a X, it is attached with very big groups. That's why this molecule is named not based on this spacer, but this molecule is named based on this aryl group here, and it is called as tricyclic and H1 antihistamine. Tricyclic means there will be 3 cyclic structures in all molecules, irrespective of the nature of the spacer or nature of this amine. This aromatic part will be a tricyclic moiety. That tricyclic part may be all 3 aromatic, or all 3 ring may not be aromatic. So they have very pronounced sedative effects. Example, they have very pronounced CNS effect. In fact, you can say. So because of that, these tricyclic H1 antihistamines are not given as a conventional or as a regular antihistamine. They are not available without prescription from a registered medical practitioner. It is not like your normal cetirizine or hydroxyzine or Benadryl cough syrup. Because of their very strong central nervous system depressing effect, it is not used. So molecules, for example, phenothiazine belonging to the class, the phenothiazine tablet, if you want, you won't get it, even though it is a type of H1 antihistamine, but it is not the class of like your chlorpheniramine or phenyramine or cetirizine or hydroxyzine. So due to that, this molecule sell without prescription is restricted. Okay, so very important, you remember this line. The tricyclic H1 antihistamine has very strongest, in fact you can say strongest compared to ethylene diamine, ethanolamine, or alkylamine derivatives or piperazine derivatives. So they have the most pronounced, most very strong CNS depressant effect, and because of that they are not used as antihistamine for general purpose. Rather than they are preferred to treat the CNS disorders, to treat psychosis. Phenothiazine is a very common example. So sometime in exams or even in Viva, no, or even in MCQ, the question appears, tell one antihistamine which is having antipsychotic property. So you should remember it is phenothiazine derivatives. Phenothiazine or derivatives of phenothiazine is the commonly used. Another examples are also there, but since it is very simple, I quoted this one. Other examples like cyproheptadine is another class of tricyclic antihistamines. So all these have the strong property and a strong CNS depressant property, and there is very small difference between the antihistaminic property and CNS property. So that is determined by this carbon and the nature of this substituent at nitrogen. So this line, if you read, it says that the phenothiazine antihistamines contain 2 or 3 carbon branched alkyl chain between the non-basic phenothiazine nitrogen and the aliphatic amines. This is the characteristic for antihistamines. Now what next line is that they differ from antipsychotic phenothiazine derivatives. Means the phenothiazine derivatives which is having more antipsychotic property, they will have unbranched chain. This chain will be straight like 1 to 3 carbon, so 3 carbon. So all remember this line, my dear friend, all phenothiazine derivatives with branched chain between this amine and this tricyclic ring will have the antipsychotic property, while the phenothiazine derivatives with branched spacer chain will have antihistamine property. This is the one remarkable difference in structure, correct? Apart from that, most of the drugs having the in general to this class having very strong sedative effect. Okay, so what is the important line from this slide to remember is the phenothiazine derivative without branching in the spacer chain will have strong antipsychotic effect, while the phenothiazine derivative with branched spacer chain here will have strong antihistaminic effect. This is the difference in property with relation to a difference in the structure. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So shall I move to the next slide?
So we have class, sir.
Okay, what's the finish? So after this,
Okay.
nothing is there. These are the 3 questions. Please take down these questions. You can take snapshot or whatever. 3 questions we have. Define antihistamines. What is the difference between first and second generation H1 antihistamine? And write short note on first generation antihistamines. We have 1 week time. Go through it. If you say I will share the slide, go through the slide, make assignment and submit it. Okay. Thank you for attending the class. We'll meet again with the antihistamine discussion in the next class. Have a nice day. Bye to all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Bye.
Yes, sir.